Why we have, invited our next guest on the show to discuss exactly this. Kumar Sinha, Principal Economist and Senior Director of Public Finance at India Ratings is with us. Mr. Sinha, thanks for joining in. So, we're getting a whole flurry of data. Some of the numbers that we got yesterday from the GDP print, as Lata was pointing out, at least gross fixed capital formation, that number still looks robust. But you first tell us that what gives you the conviction that private capex perhaps finally might be taking off?
Well, let's go back and try to see where the sentiments or for that matter, the mood of the industry was before the Russia-Ukraine war. I mean, at that point of time, when we talked to many private companies and also looked at some of the data, it almost appeared that probably the private capex cycle, the good part was that both the banks and the private corporate sector utilized the COVID period to clean up their balance sheet. So they were really in a much better position to undertake the fresh capex. And that was the time when it appeared as if economy is opening up and the demand is going to pick up. So they were planning to undertake fresh capex. However, with the Russia-Ukraine war, all of that suddenly collapsed. And, most of the investment went into a wait and watch mode. However, as things are, becoming clearer and clearer that Russia-Ukraine war is not going to end anytime soon. So the entire globe is gradually adjusting to this new reality. And even in India, private corporate sector, which was almost willing to undertake the fresh capex, now realizes that, perhaps we will have to live with it and accordingly adjust and undertake the capex. And that mood is getting reflected in the two indicators that we have mentioned in our report, namely the Industrial Entrepreneurs Memoranda, which is IEM, and then the Business Expectation Index, which RBI. In both these cases, we see that there is a clear jump in the last few quarters.
Sunil, this IEM indicator, that's Industrial Entrepreneurs Memorandum, it's basically the proposal submitted by the private industry to the government to set up a starter capex. Is that the simplistic way of reading it?
Absolutely. In fact, whenever a private sector, particularly in the de-license sector, if they have to set up any new capex or even undertake a brownfield expansion, then they do submit the Industrial Entrepreneur Memoranda to the DPIIT. And that in fact shows that they are willing to undertake capex.
Sure. So can you tell us the numbers behind this IEM? What is it currently? What was it, say, 5 years back? Tell us the numbers behind your thesis that IEM, that private capex, is going to take off.
Well, I mean, the Industrial Entrepreneur Memoranda, I mean, if you look at, really, remained flat throughout 2012 to 2020. And as the COVID period began, I mean, that was the time when we saw that there was a certain uptick in the Industrial Entrepreneur Memoranda. And it, in fact, went up to 7.3 or 7.7 trillion. From 4.15 trillion in 2020. Of course, in the calendar year 22, it dropped to again close to 4.24 trillion. But as I said earlier, that was largely due to the eruption of the Russia-Ukraine war.
Sure.
And our hunch is that as the number for fiscal year 23 will become available, we will again see a significant jump in the Industrial Entrepreneur Memorandum.
We don't have the numbers for...
Let's actually talk about the future as well, Mr. Sinha, as you await the FY23 data. Now, a rule of thumb that everybody points out is the moment capacity utilization reaches around 80%, that's when you start expecting the next cycle to take off, right? Now, given that you've seen these two indicators improve, can you break this down into regions, geographies, states or sectors where we might see the first movers when it comes to additional fresh private capex?
Well, in terms of states, some of the states which are attracting a fair amount of investment are Uttar Pradesh, the usual Gujarat, Maharashtra. The surprise of the pack is, of course, Odisha, where we have seen a significant pickup in the investment intentions coming up. And then followed by, of course, the usual Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and even Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh are now attracting fair amount of investment, the fresh capex.
Do you have the number of the current year, FY23, the first 5 months? What does the Industrial Entrepreneurs Memorandum, what does that number stand at? You said last year FY22 was a little about 4.5 trillion. What is the current number?
There is a bit of lag in this data. So the data that is available is up to the end of 22. And that clearly, I mean, more so the 21 data. The 22 data, as I said, was impacted. So when this current calendar year will come to an end, that is 23, we will get the numbers for 23, and my hunch is that that once again going to be much higher than even 21, that is 7 trillion plus investment.
Sunil, we'll leave the conversation here. Thank you very much for joining in. By the way, look at Vodafone